So, a little warning for you guys, just to let you know that this video isn't probably going to talk about violence as much as the last couple of No More Heroes games, and it's not as deprived, but there's still a little bit of it here and there, so there's that. And this game is a relatively new game, therefore there's also going to be a big spoiler warning right there. So, if you want to know what I think about the game, I enjoyed it, and I recommend it. But if you want to know why, you'll have to watch the review. But we're going to get into some spoiler territory, so let's begin, shall we?
Hey you! Yeah! I heard you're a gamer who likes games!
Yeah, I like video games.
Well, I got this game where you're a gamer who likes games, you dig?
I dig? In the game? Or... I'm not digging anything.
Yeah, you, the gamer who likes games, is gonna play a video game about a gamer who likes games, yeah!
Oh, so I'm playing a video game about a gamer who likes games. Are we sure I need a video game for this?
Yeah, also heard you like anime. Then we're gonna put some dope-ass anime stuff in that game, yeah! It's like balls that bring somebody back to life, and there's like Gundam stuff, yeah!
Well, okay, I'm down with that. I like anime. Why do you sound like Bugs Bunny?
Yeah, ever hear of Suda 51? Yeah, tons of Suda 51 games in this, yeah! You heard of No More Heroes? You play as No More Heroes, yeah!
Well, you didn't answer my question, but, okay, you play as the No More Heroes case, playing video games? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, no, that's stupid. No, you play as Travis Touchdown, the hero of No More Heroes, you see? You dig? Yeah?
I guess that's fine. I like No More Heroes. Hey, is Lollipop Chainsaw in this?
Yeah, no Lollipop Chainsaw. Pretty sure they're not Suda 51, but no, this is a level based on Shadows of the Damned, yeah! And many other characters, yeah!
Oh, okay, that sounds really cool, actually. What console's Travis playing? Like the Super Nintendo or something?
Yeah, no, he's playing the Death Drive Mark II, yeah!
That's not good. So, despite No More Heroes being in kind of a weird, obscure development hell kind of situation, Travis came back. I'm not sure why he's actually in this game per se, but if you look at the development cycle and kind of actually play the game, you find out that this game is actually a spin-off of the No More Heroes series, but it's also a love letter to most of Suda 51's creations, Lollipop Chainsaw notwithstanding. But yeah, there's actually a ton of Suda 51 references, which is great because I have not really played a whole lot of Suda 51 games outside of No More Heroes. But can you enjoy the game without knowing all of these references? I suppose that's what we'll be taking a look at this time while I review Travis Strikes Back, No More Heroes. So yeah, Travis's Death Drive Mark II. Now, for those of you who don't know, Death Drive is a concept from Let It Die, another Suda 51 title. So, yeah, that's what we're taking on then. So let's get down to it, and let's take on the Death Drive Mark II. So I'm going to be talking about the plot and characterization a bit together. The initial plot and what gets everyone going into this Death Drive Mark II thing is that Badman, or I can't remember his real name, who are we kidding? But Badman is actually a character that interacts with some Killer 7 characters, oddly enough. He decides that he needs to kill Travis. Why? Because Travis killed his daughter, Charlotte. Now, if that name doesn't exactly ring a whole lot of bells, what about the name Bad Girl? Yeah, Badman is Bad Girl's dad. Ugh, a lot of rhyming words there seemed like a little bit of a tongue twister. Anyway, Batman goes and finds Travis and tries to attack him, but before all of this happened, the characters in Killer 7 gave him something called a Death Ball. While fighting Travis, the Death Ball in Batman's possession ends up connecting to the Death Drive Mark II in Travis's possession. And what happens? Both characters get sucked into a video game. However, it's stated that if both characters play all these Death Ball games and actually win them, they will be granted one wish. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z all over again. So you gotta collect the Death Balls, which is simple, but I'll get to that in a second. And yeah, you basically get a wish and wish Batgirl back from the dead. Spoiler warning, it doesn't work, because one of the Death Balls that you end up with is a fake, and Batgirl comes back as a dog. Oh yes, we're going there. But that's not the main story. No, unfortunately that's just a catalyst to get Travis to investigate the Death Drive Mark II. There's plenty more here, particularly Dr. Juvenile. This character is the one that created the Death Drive Mark II. And the more you play, the more you get facts from, like, fax machine, not, anyway. Yeah, you receive fax messages from her current lover, Kay. Now, Kay is an interesting character because he's telling you that if you beat all these games, this weird CIA project using the Death Drive Mark I and the Death Drive Mark II will activate once again, causing a large amount of problems here. So while you play through the game, you're urged to basically stop playing the game, but you're also urged to stop whatever the CIA has going on if you continue. And yeah, that's basically the final level, and that's where the real meat and story come in at. So what does this have to do with the characters? Well, Batman doesn't really develop much as a character this time around, but yeah, Travis definitely develops as a character because he meets some of his favorite video game characters and he has to fight them and kill them. And he also decides through learning more and more about Dr. Juvenile that he doesn't really want to fight or kill her either, and that's kind of some real character growth for Travis, because, I mean, at this point in time, he's just fighting whatever is in his way, and he doesn't really like the idea of fighting Dr. Juvenile, even though he really doesn't have a choice either. He learns about her, and in essence, so do you. You probably should feel bad for Dr. Juvenile. She hasn't had the best of life. You also learn that she can probably, tell the future. But yeah, outside of Dr. Juvenile and Travis, there's also many other boss fight characters that you get to learn through. But you don't really get to interact or learn much about Batman unless you're either playing as him, which still doesn't give you a whole lot, or unless you have the DLC, but I'll get into that later on. But yeah, the boss characters are pretty interesting. They all have really unique backstories for just being simple video game characters. So that's pretty cool, and like I said, a lot of the characters are nods and references to other Suda51 games as well, which is really interesting. I'll tell you what, I really want to play Shadow of the Dam now. I mean, I kind of got to know the characters from it. And that's what kind of makes this interesting. The character development and the story are actually pretty good. They're crazy, don't get me wrong, but they're really good. And that is easily a strong point for this video game. But since it is a video game, what about the gameplay? Awkward transition aside, the gameplay is actually really fun. It's simple. It's a top-down beat-em-up, more or less, where you control either Travis or Batman, and you just kind of run around beating stuff up. You have quick light attacks, or the more useful heavy attacks, and you also have the ability to jump and dodge roll. Where things get complicated is you have a super move in the form of the R button, and you also have super moves that you can pick out that you unlock through, finding secrets and beating the game. And you can use those through the L button. I use these a lot, honestly. I kind of forget that the R one is there, but it's still pretty useful. The L ones, however, you can customize these for any character, really, and yeah, they do a lot, from healing you to just blowing up everything nearby, or creating little barriers to trick opponents into for, quick and easy damage. There's a lot of varying abilities here. You also can run out of weapon energy, like many No More Hero games. So to deal with that, you press in the left stick and use the right stick to kind of waggle. Yeah, I know, you'd think waggle technology would be dead, but not so much. You can also move around your controller for a little bit of extra damage on some of the special attacks. So overall, the gameplay is really simple but really nice. It mostly divulges to level design on games like this, in my opinion, but overall I think the gameplay isn't bad. It's, like I said, just really simple. Each special attack does something completely different, and it's up to you to figure out. I'm not going to go over all of them, but like I said, I like the healing one. I like some electric attack that I got where you can stun opponents, and this bomb that basically creates barriers that kills weaker enemies is really useful, especially towards the end of the game. So yeah, mix and match. How are those levels, though, speaking of the end of the game? Well, the levels, like most No More Heroes games, are slightly hit and miss. Most of them are really good. I especially like the race car one, where yeah, you're kind of on a virtual bike and you have to do this weird gear shifting thing to kind of get ahead on the race, but it's kind of like a puzzle almost that you're kind of solving in a quick succession. Honestly, this was really fun. And most of the boss fights are really cool too. If you like Shadows of the Damned, there is actually a legitimate level that's based around the game, and it's fun. Even though I've never played the game myself, it's there. It's awesome. But, what about other games in this video game? That is still awkward to say. Look, this is a really short game, and I don't mind the CIA level, the last level in the game, but frankly, it's kinda dull to look at. There's a lot of Hotline Miami references here, but it's still really, really dull to look at. And I'm not sure as to why. I think it's based off of Hotline Miami, but at the same time, Hotline Miami had more scenery to look at. Last I checked, anyway. And then there's Coffee and Donuts. It tries and goes for this whole platforming thing. It's supposed to, represent a whole bunch of indie games, but the platforming is a bit wonky, especially when crap's attacking you and stuns you mid-air. This causes some problems later on that level. And the level where you switch houses, I can't remember what it's called right off the bat, but yeah, this level kind of sucks too. There's these invincible one-shot kill ghost things that are chasing you around, and sometimes they're just annoying to dodge. Like, you have to deal with them. And then you just go into a house and kill everything in the house and go on to the next level. It's rinse and repeat. Also, there's a mid-boss for every game, but they're just generic sheep-looking things. I mean, don't get me wrong, the last boss is a sheep-looking thing. It's Dr. Juvenile, and that boss fight is amazing because her sheep thing is her avatar, and she becomes it later on. And as Travis, you have to stop and actually end up killing her. But, yeah, I would like it if the mid-boss and some of the other, minor enemies actually reflected the games that they're in. They can do the same things, but just give them different skins. I know I'm nitpicking at this point. Look, when it comes to levels, most of them are really fun. There's just two, the house moving one and Coffee and Donuts, the platformer, that I just really didn't like. And when talking about boss fights, actually, most of the bosses are really fun too. I, again, didn't like the boss fight in Coffee and Donuts, and I have a few problems with this guy from the Golden Dragon Racetracks, but for the most part, they're complete wins. The guy from the Golden Dragon Racetracks, I just didn't really care much for his fight because you have to dodge to the left or right a lot, and this basically moves the camera. The problem is if you don't see him, he has cheap-ass attacks that'll hit you anywhere in the arena, and if you don't know he's charging them up, it's hard to dodge. Oh, maybe I just wasn't using the dodge roll enough and trying to just jump over them doesn't always work. I understand, but still, it annoyed me. I'm going to complain about it. But the rest of the bosses were really fun, so there's that. There's definitely way better level design here than there would be in other games that I've played, so yeah, I'm going to list it as a positive, you know that? There's, again, the few negatives here and there, but overall, I think the levels are really well set up and really well designed to the gameplay. It's really good, and, you know, like most good levels, there's plenty of crap to go and find. Yeah. So, strewn throughout levels and for beating enemies, you not only get experience points to boost your stats, but you can also find coins for killing enemies and, you know, just finding them laying around. That was an awkward transition. Anyway, with these coins, you can typically buy t-shirts. And what kind of t-shirts does No More Heroes have? Well, normally No More Heroes has a lot of weird t-shirts, but this time they're actually shirts based off of indie games. Yeah, there's Hollow Knight, there's Metaton from Undertale, there's Dead Cells, for crap's sake. This is awesome and really cool. If you have the DLC, you also get some Legend of Zelda. There's also a few Aztec coins that you have to find to get very special shirts. But for the most part, it allows you to customize your character in the way they look. At least for Travis in Badman. And I'll get to the third unlocked character that I have in just a bit. But yeah, that's really nice. And, you know, there's also these skill chips, which is the special moves I was talking about earlier when you hold down the L button. A lot of these are really fun. Some of them aren't quite as useful as others, but overall, they're pretty awesome. There's also a specific few catered to Badman, if you really like playing as him, and most of the characters can just use right away, which is, again, really nice. Although it makes Badman and Travis play very similarly. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two, and yeah, that goes for Shinobu as well. Look, if you have the DLC, or if you actually just bought the game, you know, with a physical copy and have the download code, you can get Shinobu after you beat the game. That's a pretty nice reward. You also get some text adventure as Badman. Oh yeah, the text adventures. Ugh. Look, in between each level, Travis has to go find a death ball. How do you find a death ball? You go play a DOS-like text adventure. And when I say adventure, I use that very loosely. It's mostly just a wall of text that you read through, and a cute and admittedly charming little text animations. Honestly, you don't really change anything in this. It's just you're reading it. And it looks like DOS. So, yeah. But this is where you find out a lot about Dr. Juvenile, and you also find out Jean the Cat can talk. Speaking of Jean the Cat, she also has a tendency to get lost in some of the levels. If you go find her a couple of times, you can end up with a new skill chip. Yay! Yeah, that's about all she does. You also get, you know, kind of cool things to read if you find all the ramen shops. Ramen boosts your energy up a bit. And, yeah, of course you can find outhouses to save your game and heal yourself. You also get little mini game reviews after you play one of the games or when you unlock the death ball. And, yeah, that's mostly it. But there is one last secret. Now, I know I already gave a spoiler warning long before this, but this is going to be one last one. You get this after you beat the game and talk to Shinobu, because when you do that, you get credits. Which is admittedly more reasonable when you unlock, you know, talk to Bad Girl in her revived state as a dog, because all she does is growl at you. But talking to Shinobu, you get credits and you hear a setup for No More Heroes 3. It's hinted at quite a bit. But, yeah, if you're a No More Heroes fan, you also get to play a little bit of No More Heroes 3. It's just a little development room. It's literally a beta room, but the gameplay is actually more centered around No More Heroes than the spin-off Travis Strikes Back. So you're actually playing what it's probably going to feel like on the Nintendo Switch. And that's so cool. You even get an enemy to beat up. Not that I ever figured out how to beat him up. At least not for this review. But, yeah, that's basically it. There's, like I said, plenty of nods to other indie games with the form of t-shirts, as well as Majora's Mask for some baffling reason if you get the DLC. There's plenty of nods to the Unreal Engine. In fact, you can get Unreal Engine t-shirts by finding Unreal tokens in the levels as well as, you know, the Aztec coins. Anyway, yeah, there's also a ton of Suda51 references, and trying to find them all and understanding who the characters is a nice little Easter egg. I sadly had to look a lot of these characters up, but, you know, it was still kind of fun learning about them, in my opinion. Most of them are on the DOS-based minigames, but there's a few here and there, and yeah, there's a lot of anime references here too, which is pretty cool. In fact, most of the skill chips are named off of Gundams, which is awesome. There's also a weird Gundam-like fight, but I didn't like it because it's in Coffee and Donuts. Ha! But yeah, there we go. That's mostly all the secrets you can get. So let's start wrapping this up, shall we? So overall, is Travis Strikes Back worth a purchase? And in my honest opinion, I think it is if you have somebody to play with. Now, don't get me wrong, I think single player is perfectly fine. But when I played it, it didn't quite resonate with me. I could recognize that it's a really good game, but honestly, I had way more fun doing multiplayer and, you know, playing with a friend than I ever did alone. Yeah, the enemies are like double the health, but still, it was a lot of fun. You can kind of stun your, you know, friend a couple of times with attacks and everything like that. So it just kind of made it funnier, but made it really entertaining to work with somebody through this game. But alone, I wouldn't play this in a marathon-like way. If you're going to play it alone, play it like a handheld game where, you know, you play a little bit here and there, you progress a little bit, and then, you know, head out. It has the length of a handheld game, and buying it new, don't get me wrong, is $40. And I don't know if $40 is exactly the price I would give it, but, you know, I think it is kind of worth taking a look at. The problem is that you could get the DLC for free if you bought a physical copy. I happen to own a physical copy, so the DLC will be for free. It gives you a free season pass. And there's more DLC to come. Shinobu's a nice bonus, but you can also play as Bad Girl later on, and it will add in a brand new level, which is awesome. But, yeah, for those of you who aren't going to get the DLC or have to download it, I would wait for it to be on sale just a tad bit. The game is super short, and like I said, if you don't have a friend to play it with, it's not really worth a purchase right away. I would say about $30 is fair, maybe $35 at the most. But if you do have somebody to play with, or, you know, you just have some spare bus ride time to play this portably and, you know, just make little bits of progress every time, then by all means, yeah, I'd throw $40 at it. Why not? It's a fun game, and especially if you got that other person with you. And like I said, I think it's okay single player. The only real issue that I have with the game is there's a few levels and a few bosses, particularly 2 each, that I just didn't really feel. I didn't really much care for them. But outside of that, the writing's good, the gameplay is, you know, simple but fun. Most of the levels are really good. The secrets are, you know, a nice little pleasant thing to find. There's a lot here for people looking for something short and sweet. Again, there's not a lot here for, putting it up on your TV and marathoning it, but I think it works well as a portable or a really short co-op experience. So, yeah, I recommend it. I really do. That, and the more people buy it, the more likely we are to get No More Heroes 3. And after playing that really, really short demo at the end of this game, I want No More Heroes 3. And why not? Bring Shadow of the Dam 2, because they set that up as well. And I think the fans of that, short but sweet video game deserve a sequel. So, yeah. I think the writing's great, too. I can't recommend the game enough, honestly. Other than the 2 levels, most of the problems I have with the game are just kind of nitpicky, like CIA. Yeah, it's fun. There's, really cool waves of enemies, and there's interesting stuff to do, and all the Hotline Miami cameos are awesome, but it looks boring. It's basically just white. White floors and white walls. Yeah. And then the enemies are a bit repetitive. They kind of even make fun of this, honestly, about how generic the Sheepmen mini-bosses look. But overall, those are just really nitpicky complaints, in my opinion. I don't think the platforming segment really works, and I hate the puzzle crap on, the one level. But, yeah. I mean, I can't really say much more. The biggest issue is that the game is really short, and yeah, the story's deep, but the gameplay sure as hell isn't. But I think for this type of game, it really works well. So, that's all the time I have for today, guys. And if you like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and go pick up the game. Because again, I think that if you have, people to play co-op with, local only, or portability, yeah, this game is definitely worth the time and look. It's really fun. And, it's No More Heroes, so naturally the writing is funny. And there's times that I just straight up laughed at the writing, even in the DOS minigames, so... Although that might be a negative, too, if you don't really like DOS. But, who am I to judge? But, yeah, I really don't know how to end this. I didn't write an ending, I just left dots. Yeah, so how are you guys doing? Yeah, pretty good. Alright. Adios. Bye-bye. Hee hee hee. Ho ho ho. I don't sleep anymore. I'm sorry, guys. Bye-bye.